welcome everybody to the Layer5 community meeting. Today is August 6th, 2021. And let's kick off this meeting with the age-old tradition of embarrassing newcomers. So if you are new on this call, uh, feel free to introduce yourself so that the community can get to know you and you can get to know the community as well. Saif, would you like to get started?
I'm sorry, I think I got disconnected. So I was just saying I'm currently an MLH fellow doing open source and working for a project that's under Facebook. So that's pretty cool, and my interest kind of got along with like I'm much more interested in the career side of my things. I'm still undergraduate. I still have a year of graduation left to go. More side of production engineering and side of data engineering. I've kind of had some experience with cloud and developer operations. I even gave a talk about it just this week in MLH. So um, I was kind of intrigued with what Meshari was doing. I like the idea of service meshes. I looked around what IO was. I kind of looked around with that. And then experimented around with a few constant developer operations to check how these things are kind of working with Kubernetes and stuff like that. So that's what I'm exactly doing, right? So Meshari is this kind of way for me to experiment around with these kind of ideas because I may implement this in future projects for my own personal kind of projects, and getting into kind of flow of how to make a quick developer operations infrastructure up and running very quickly is very important to me. And that's kind of how I found out about mesh area. Initially, I looked around for the Linux Foundation because they had some open source projects. Then I realized mesh area was also kind of connected with CNCF. And then I also realized mesh area is also kind of connected with the Google Sound of Code. So I may apply for that next year if I get the opportunity and the time to contribute enough to be anticipated for that. So that's what I'm kind of doing right now. As how I'm interested in developer operations, it started just last year, and my interest right now is so much that sometimes I read books about production engineering. There was one by Google. I have that as a hard copy. Just last week, I read about like 170 pages of design on data and internet applications. So I come from I'm much more interested kind of stand perspective and try to contribute to engage in discussions whenever I can. So that's it for me. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm working on like 2 to 3 projects along in my free time, and then looking at my area self when I can contribute. I made a pull request and then got accepted just last night, so that's pretty cool. I have another pull request that I'll work on starting from tonight. So that's what I'm doing. Nice to meet everyone here, and I would love to understand much more what service meshes are, what they do, and how I can maybe introduce much more of a community to open source projects like these. I think that would be pretty cool. Because where I come from, we don't actually have any idea what CNCF is, what CDF is, your what KubeCon, your CD con are, your what the Linux Foundation are. We don't have any idea what open source actually is, except maybe making an account on GitHub. So maybe this is my way of promoting this kind of culture from where I come from. So that's also a motivator for me. So I guess that's a lot. I'll pass it on to someone who else is new. So thank you all for your time. And I would love to get to know you more in the coming future. And take care.
Yeah, thank you, Saif, for that wonderful introduction. Uh, yeah, like you mentioned that people who aren't aware about CNCF from where you came. So actually, we are planning a session with CNCF students, which is a new CNCF community, and it will be mostly during next week. So we are planning an introduction to contributing to cloud native CNCF projects. Yeah, up the session at the right time. Uh,
Yeah, that's great because I'm also learning about much more of Golang microservices kind of architecture. Like I know what theoretical basis of that is. I've done that, explained it a lot. But I'm looking much more again to the hands-on kind of perspective to on how to build microservices and how to deploy them. So I tried out Golang starting from 2 weeks before. I'm still working on a something that I have. I think someone in Meshari recommended to me. I'm not sure where I found it, the link, but yeah, I attended a meeting just 1.5 weeks ago. I think it was a Piyush, and there was a bit more about documentation kind of side of things. So I attended a meeting before this one. And he gave a link for Golang, and there was about microservices and about Nick Jackson, if anyone knows about him. So that's something that I was learning as well in my free time. Like I have a lot of tech stack under my belt. Like like I'm working on Python right now, but I realize Python is not that great for developer operations. Golang much better. And I see GitHub and all the companies are kind of using Golang these days. So that's what my target is. Try and see what's in the Golang kind of perspective that's not in the languages. So that's also what I'm doing in my free time.
Awesome, awesome to hear that. Like you are in the right place, and yeah, you'll get to explore a lot of stuff that you mentioned here. Welcome again to the community. All right. Thank you. So let's see who else is new on the call. Anybody else new on the call?
Hey there. My name is Nishant, and I'm from India. I'm a junior. I'm a junior at IT Roki, and I mean, I am I'm a hobbyist software dev, and I kind of I've been working on projects with like a technical group on my campus. One of them includes an operating system that we're writing in Rust and an attack defense CTF platform, Kubernetes. But I still haven't gotten into that completely yet. Um, Other than that, I do enjoy reading. Lately, I've been reading Jane Austen's novels, and I haven't actually uh, gotten into Sense and Sensibility yet, but soon. Um, Other than that, I actually got into Meshri after hearing about it from the Linux Foundation mentorship program, and I asked a senior of mine, and he told me that he gave me a brief intro about service meshes and WebAssembly, and after that, I was like, okay, I see that Meshri kind of works on it, but I was really interested to know more, so I was like, hey, why not join?
Nishant, that's
And
great.
that's me.
Nishant, did you say there was a specific individual that had pointed out Meshri to you?
Oh no, I came across Meshri from the Lux Foundation mentorship program. But when I discussed this with my senior, and he told me about service meshes and WebAssembly, and from there I was like, this is pretty cool. So I want to learn a little bit. So I joined.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, there's more power to the network and to a service mesh, I think, than a lot of people have gotten to yet. Even the people that have been using service meshes for a while, there's still more to it. We'll see how. Anyway, nice to have you, Nishant. Good to.
Thank you.
By the way, Piyush, refresh my memory. Piyush, did you just graduate IIT Roorkee?
Yes, I did graduate from IIT Roorkee this year.
Okay.
Oh, dude, that's nice.
Nice. Hopefully you kept your notes. You could just pass those down to Nishant. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll speak to Piyush later on. Hello.
Give him all the cheat sheets, the answers to the test. That'd be great.
Wait, there's a test?
to the exams at IIT Roorkee. Yeah, nice.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Good.
Thank you, Nishant. I know Anshuman, you introduced on the other call, but would you like to introduce yourself here as well?
Okay. Hi, everyone. And my name is Anshuman. And I'm also undergraduate, and I'm doing my BTech from Indraprastha Engineering College. And I've been working on my skills related to front end and back end. And I think this was a very great platform which will be helping in enhancing my skills more. I got to know about this platform by one of my friend Vinayak Sharma, who is also who also contributes here. So I really hope it will be great working with all of you guys. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anshuman. Welcome to the community. Since we are almost 13-14 minutes in, others, could you please introduce yourself on the chat to save us some time? So if you are new here, you can jump in the chat and introduce yourself. All right. So we have a couple of announcements. And first up, we have created a new community group for service mesh performance and meshery in cloud native community groups. So as you might know, meshery and SMP are CNCF sandbox projects. So this community group, like by joining this community group, you will be able to track all the upcoming events and see all the past events, see all the recordings and all those stuff. And we'll be using this platform more in the future to host some events and all those stuff. So the links are in the chat, so you can join it right now. Yeah, and another announcement is we have scheduled a webinar with CNCF on meshery. So it is scheduled on August 19th, and you can, and I think it will be an on-demand webinar, so you can actually watch it anytime you want, but it will go live on August 19th. So you can RSVP here to catch the session live. All right. Moving on to the topics for today. First up, we have Suhani, who has been working on the service mesh labs. Suhani, would you like to take us from here?
Yes. So I will be sharing my screen.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to community. And now you have joined Layer 5 and want to know what Layer 5 is, what meshery is. So there is our YouTube channel Layer 5, and you can find all the relevant videos in here. And also we have interactive service mesh labs where you can choose the course, and you can have hands-on here on how to run meshery, how to install service mesh, and deploy the sample apps. Okay, so for that, you can just choose the scenario, start the scenarios, and on the left hand side, you can just see there are instructions written, and on the right, there is a playground. So you can just go through the instructions and yeah, start learning how meshery works. And so recently, when I was just going through the lab, I find out that minikube was not starting. So on investigation, we find out, okay, we need to update the backend image. So after updating the backend image, so we tackle the issue, and now we are able to start the minikube. Okay, so you can just go through all the labs we have in here and try it, test it, give us a feedback, and we can work together on the issues. So now I want to know the names who want to try it, test it, and give us the feedback. So anyone from here who want to try this?
Yeah, sure, I'll go.
Okay. Sure, thank you.
Can you give me a link, please?
Yeah, I will post it on the chat. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry if there's any background noise. There's a TV. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. Let me. I'll add some context to what Suhani is demoing, which is quite exciting actually, because for a while we've had the community has had interactive labs posted. Well, they're posted in a couple of places actually. So one place is on the Layer5 IO website, which, by the way, I think the count is to like 192 contributors that have helped create this site. So we're almost at 200, which is impressive. That I don't know if it's impressive that that many people have contributed, or if it's impressive that it looks as good as it does with that many people having contributed. But point is, on the site, there's a /learn category. In that category, there's books, a couple of which are free, which we were just talking about ones, that's good. There's some workshops, the materials to the workshops and some of the recordings and the slides and things, they're free for you to self-study. So as you do, if you find any bugs, I mean, the self-study to these workshops is on GitHub, and the slides are out there. There's recordings of the workshops. There's, in fact, potentially something that might be discussed later in today's call that I won't steal the thunder of, but there have been a few of you in the community who've been working on a new type of learning. So a fourth type, because the third type that's available here are these interactive labs. So if we check out all the labs, we go back to this page. This is what Suhani has been looking into for a little bit now. All of you, I suspect, are probably somewhat familiar with CADACODA as as a place to hold temporary interactive labs to learn different pieces of tech. In this case, there have been a few labs created for how to use Meshery so you can forego having to install Kubernetes or Docker locally, and you can just try that out here in a temporary environment. There have been a couple of issues with it, and she's been working through them. So there's a couple of things that she's asking for. Well, actually, before I reiterate that, I'll say, so these labs themselves, they are kept in this repo. So Layer5 IO service mesh labs. If you're like, this repo has definitions of how those labs work. So they're in concept describing them. I mean, it's not the world's, or rather I should say, I'm surprised that we don't have more people hitting on. I think it's that we don't talk about this enough. I'm surprised that we don't have more people contributing like Suhani is, because these are a great way of, if you're working to help curate how these labs work and what they say, what instructions we give and what screenshots are shown. It's a great way to learn the project Meshery, a great way to learn service meshes. It's also the case that there are any number of more labs to create. So this week, we'd had a couple of calls with Intel. I had a call with HPE and engineers digging into Meshery and enjoying, in particular, its performance management capabilities. How do you do a performance test in Meshery? Like, just how do you use Meshery? How do you interpret the graphs that it shows you? Well, believe it or not, some of those engineers have a difficult time trying to run Kubernetes or get Docker going. And they, like a lot of the rest of us, will benefit from these convenient environments. And I don't know, okay, there's a performance management tab. I'm refreshing my memory. Okay, running performance. Okay, good. So this is one that we should be pointing out to them fairly early. And yet I bet you it's got a couple of bugs in it. I bet. Just that's the way that things work. It hasn't been touched in a while. And so Suhani has touched them here recently. So she's looking for like a number of people. So Saif, great, but others as well to come try these and to be, well, picky, to be a whiner, if that doesn't come naturally to you, to go whine about it and create issues on misspellings, outdated screenshots, steps that don't make sense, ways to reduce the number of steps, aspects of Meshery that aren't covered by the labs. Like, this is an easy way to engage, to create new content and have it automatically posted. So when a change is merged in that repo, it gets reflected here. It's not just here, but it's also in Meshery docs. So, by the way, I think this is another opportunity for those that want to contribute, is that if you go to, or like if you go to console as like, hey, what does Meshery do with this? Well, that looks familiar. That looks like one of those interactive labs. Okay, good. So it's being exposed here as well. I bet if you go to, I don't know, let's see, Open Service Mesh. Well, that's too bad. I guess there isn't one for Open Service Mesh. Or is there? If there isn't, hey, we should have one. If there is, oh, there isn't. So there you go. Like, copy and paste of this, put it over there. Anyway, so there's, yeah. So I just repeated what Suhani said, but hopefully that encourages a few of you to jump in. Like, this is one of the, if for those of you who are here that say you'd like to learn more DevOps, whatever that means, you'd like to be more, learn some of the technologies and how to administer them, how they work. That's a great spot to land. It's a great place to go dig in. You'll be able to do some contributing while you're learning. So see Suhani, poke her, just not too hard, but poke her in Slack.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Suhani. Moving on to the next item, Anita, would you like to talk about the community handbook?
Yes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So we've been working on the community handbook. Let me share. Okay. Yeah, we've been working on the community handbook for some time now, and the essence is the previous one that already existed was not like on point. There's so many outdated things on it, and needed to be updated. So we're working on making sure it is up to date, and then it's available on the website. So we're not the only ones who have access to it. You don't want to be greedy with the content on this handbook. So we want everyone coming to our website be able to go through our handbook and know what's happening in our community as well. Yes, so we tried to restructure this, and we've worked on the table of contents. This is what we expect the main handbook to look like, but we're open to more suggestions because we just did this as a team, but we're open to more suggestions. So you can actually drop in comments on places where you feel there could be improvements or more things to be included in a handbook. Meanwhile, we've also worked on the website view, and the developer will be showing us how far she's gone with it now.
I'll share my screen. So this is what I have done for the home page right now. So here every block will have a different layout, like as of now. This is one. We get, like, to make this compact, I've added this. So another thing which I had to add was a sidebar. This is not going to look like this. I didn't have a lot of time to design this properly, but this is going to be on all the other pages. So once I complete the design of this, I'll add it in as well. That is all I've done till now. So like the maintainers is like that. So it's a different layout for different pages because different sets of information, but I'll try to work on the designing part more.
Thank you, Devapriya. Thank you, Anita. Comments here? Anybody has any suggestions to what the UI should look like?
I think for the UI updates, we might discuss it on the website's call, or do we go it with it now? So like I think the UI updates may be discussed later, like the community updates, let's say what the top level category should be and what all links should be. So all those things might be like anyone has feedback regarding that, then we can discuss about it right now.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, did we say now? Did you say now or wait? Or wait?
I'm saying if we are having any UI updates, we'll do it in the website's call. If we are having the top level updates, like what sections should be, like where everyone can have feedback, then we can discuss about that right now.
Nice. Okay, got it. So yeah, feedback on the doc itself, the Google Doc, like the structure of the content that goes into the handbook. So is Ruth on? Yeah, Ruth is here. So Ruth and Anita, two meshmates, have, well, guided the community on creating this handbook and have structured the handbook. And there and Goodness is on. I think there's probably a few others that I'm not mentioning that are participating in refining the well, the different sections, the different aspects of what goes on in the community. There's quite a bit. I know that they've been calling for active participation, and anyone that wants to comment on the doc, the structure, the contents of it. It's actually another great way, especially if you're relatively, well, whether you're new to the community or not, it's a good way to make sure that you're apprised of all that's going on, all that's potentially available. Some of you don't know that there are 2 different C++ projects that are happening. There's a Rust-based project as well. That may not be evident to you as you look around. Some of you may not be aware that there are technically 5 GitHub orgs that we work across. There's 5. What else? There's a lot going on. So just within the projects themselves, but also things like some of you have been recognized by having a profile on Layer5.io as a, as a community member that's consistently here and you're consistently showing up and espousing the values and the culture of the community. You're contributing in some way, whether that's code or something else. And some of you have earned badges as well. Some of your badges, one of you has a badge that no one else has. And his name is Nikhil Lada. And he'll have it, no one else will have it for another 6 months. He is the Meshmate of the Year. So he's got a special badge. It's like one of my joys in life to try to embarrass Nikhil like this. So, so he has a special badge. He also has the Meshmate badge. He has a couple of others on there. It's kind of ridiculous, actually, but he doesn't have them all. I don't know that anyone has them all. But the point is, like, okay, that's interesting. So if I go to the community handbook, I would expect to see a description of kind of what those are, when they get awarded, or what their significance is. And so I digress, but the point is, please check out, please offer, it's a good way to understand and have that question answered for yourself, but also contribute to what's going on here. Please do see Ruth and Anita, and then they're working with Devapriya and Goodness and other folks to get it published. My briefest point of feedback that Josh will cut me off on is, if we can, we want to try to reuse existing components on the site so that so A, there's consistency to the site, and B, we don't have to go through a bunch of reviews to ultimately refine and tweak something new. It's not that we don't want to bring new things, we can. It's just first seek out to reuse and then justify that something new is needed.
So the brief feedback is like, Debopri, if you can just contact with Nikhil Ladha about what all components he's been using on the learn part, then maybe you can also reuse them. That's the main point that Lee is trying to convey.
Yeah, so basically everything I've used, it's sort of reused. I've just modified it, but I can go back to the original stuff as well. But I'll contact with him and ask him what else has to be done.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, guys. So moving on to the next item, Josh, would you like to talk about the discuss forum?
Yeah, so I'll briefly explain. So basically, the community is very large to keep it sustained only on Slack. So we have moved over to the discussion forum, discuss.layer5.io. It is an instance of discourse, which provides you with community forums. So this is the initiative we are trying to have, where like all the questions, all the doubts, all the information, all the news, and everything would be propagated through. And it's a discussion forum, basically a community discussion forum. Like you can come over, ask anything you want to regarding, let's say, service meshes, meshery, or contributing Jekyll, React, Gatsby. So anything related to open source or layer 5, so you can come here and ask. So basically, we're already live with this project. It is on discuss.layer5.io. So if you don't have an account, uh, please log in and get your account done, because say from next week onwards, we are going to start uh, the awards, the monthly awards for discuss.layer5.io as well. There would be multiple categories, so maybe that I would be discussing. So moving on, before moving on to that, first of all, I'll like to update with the recent update we have, which we are having the tweeted section. So now for the users, like the awards I was referring to, so basically we can track users on the basis of the likes they have received, the likes they have given, the topics they've created, the replies they've posted, the topics they've viewed, and all those stuff. So so we'll be using this data that's already been provided by discuss.layer5.io for generating our own leaderboard. And the main point of having multiple things here, because Lee doesn't want himself to be at the top, and he is also not. We have Anita on top currently, followed by Piyush and Samir. So this is on the basis of the topics that are created in the past month. So similarly, we'll have this award section. So now, how will be going forward with it? So we are having two options currently. The first option is we use a plugin that's already been created by someone, which allows to have the fourth category. Or here, let's say we have the categories, the latest, the top, and then we have the fourth one, that is the users. So if we have that, then we can have this leaderboard on the landing page itself. The other option is to have some sort of section on the categories page itself, but for that we'll have to generate, like we'll have to create the theme by our own. The data would be provided in the JSON format. So now we'll have to decide on whether to go on with which approach. And so yeah, that's open for feedback first of all, and then we'll move forward with it. So any feedback regarding that?
Feedback for Josh.
So like, what do you think, what should we go on with? Like we should go on with the fourth tab over here, or we should have something like a leaderboard, a small table over here?
Anybody?
I think go. You go. I think we should put in a fourth column there because we already have a Twitter section below that, and on top of that we have the questions, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
if we put it in another table, it'll be like three tables on top of each other. I think a new tab would be better.
Okay.
Yes, new tab is better.
Okay, and we also move to Lee for his suggestions.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad to hear that people are expressing opinion. because actually, I mean, that's one of those questions that like you all have an opinion. Some of you may not have a strong opinion either way. And in this case, in this case, one thing that we'll want to do, like the point of the leaderboard is to recognize those that are, engaging. And if no one ever finds the fourth tab, that would be a shame. So anyway, there's value in prominently recognizing those that are most active. Like, and I assume this is probably like for that month or something like that. The JSON that was there was kind of enticing because we can expose those leaderboards potentially in different ways, on the Mesh3.io side or the docs or something. It's like, on the docs side, it's like, ask your question of this, or like, these individuals are answering and providing the most solutions in Mesh3. So like, see those folks, that might make a lot of sense. But I'll withhold, I mean, other than just, giving you all thoughts or those considerations, I'll withhold opinion. Sometimes it's, shoot, well, we've got to try something. And sometimes it just changes over time too. So, maybe it's a temporary thing for a week. There's an acknowledgement of there's recognition for the person that did such and such. And then, but maybe for the other 3 weeks out of the month, it's doing something, I don't, but yeah, things to think about. Now, one thing I thought was impressive, I'll note real quick because it's nice to highlight the works that you all do, which is, Josh, is it true that, so it's true that we have 3 different Twitter accounts in the community. And is it true that if you visit a specific project that has a Twitter account, that you'll see tweets from that account versus the others? Or
yeah,
that's nice. That's great.
We can actually set up the paths, the relative paths for which Twitter account we want to see. So we can do that. So like it's there already, but I have disabled it because I had to do a few changes in the styling and all. So basically, just to give context, this Twitter feed has also been developed, like this theme was also been developed by a contributor by a contributor here itself. Like he made this repo regarding how to display the themes, getting the information from Twitter API and all, and get it done over this here. So it's a pretty like you can learn a lot about how to create a theme. So if anyone is interested to do for the leaderboard, then you may contact me, or you can also ask on the website's channel basically. So that's all. So this is how the theme looks like. This is our theme looks like, which will be used so like we have a theme template, and you have to make like a minor changes, but you will learn a lot about how these things work when they get deployed. So that's all.
Thank you, Josh. Any other comments before we move on? Right then. The next item is on the latest Mesh3 release. Dhruv, would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, sure, I can. Okay, so the latest release is 0.5.42, and basically this was a big bug hunt, to say the least, where we tried to make Mesh3 a bit smoother and pick out the places where there were a lot of bugs, both in the UI and the backend itself. I probably shouldn't go through each and every bug, so I wouldn't do that. If you're interested, you can check out the release channel itself. One major thing which was added was, in my opinion, was the configuration wizard, renamed as config connection wizard now. So that is a new feature, I would say, which was released in 0.5.42, which is exciting. And yeah, overall, just bug fixes, like some bug fixes in reference test itself, the performance test itself, and few in Mesh CTL which allowed your GitHub actions to work properly and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's a short version of it.
One of the highlights in that release is the connection wizard.
Yeah.
You might have just said that. I might have just missed the fact you said that.
Yeah, I
But,
said the exact same thing.
oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, well, okay, everybody's excited about it. So yeah, good. It's the first time that the connection wizard is being exposed to the world. So you would anticipate a bug or two. So Nitish Karthik is not the only person that contributed to that, but most significantly gave it an overhaul recently. And in doing so, he did it about as fast as he could. And so he could use some feedback. He could use some people trying to go through the connection wizard. And if you don't know what we're talking about, then go ask Nitish. Pretty neat.
Yeah, this is the connection wizard, by the way, and I think Nitish will be showing a demo next week. So that's pretty exciting. And check out the release as well, and like go and ping him as well. All right. Moving on to the next item, Barik has been working on some fixes in GraphQL area. So Barik, would you like to talk about it?
Yep, sure. Give me a second. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what I've been working on is basically try to do a little bit of GraphQL in the Go language. I previously did some GraphQL stuff, but it is mostly in the JavaScript and TypeScript. So the approach is kind of different, and yeah. So here, what I made is that. So basically, firstly, I divide the problem into some kind of stages. So firstly, I try to create a GraphQL resolver for fetching the performance result based on ID. Yep. So this is only one performance result, and yeah. So this is the first step that I've done, and next one is fetching the performance results, all the performance results based on the profile ID. So so this is what we are seeing here in the. So this API is triggered when you click on the view results. So here you can see that there are 5 results, and when you click on it, it will show you all the performance results that you have been done on the particular profile ID. Yep. So this is that API, but we migrated to a GraphQL resolver. So in the query variables, we put in page, what, page size, how much, and then order by what, search by what, and then you put it in the profile ID as well. And then if you resolve it, it'll take some time. I time it. It's like 99 seconds, I think. Yeah, so you get this kind of result. So you get pages 0 and page size, total count result. So some of you guys might not be aware of what GraphQL is. So basically, GraphQL is something like, so in REST API, you'll try to query something from the backend, but then you'll get the whole thing, the whole response HTTP basically. So in GraphQL, what you can do, so this is the nice thing about GraphQL, you can basically just try to get what response that you are expecting. So you define the fields, what sort of fields that you're expecting from the backend, and then it will try to accommodate that request for you, basically. So this is kind of like our query language. Yep. So yeah, so this is the results that we were talking about earlier. And then you can see that this is a list. Yep. And then the total count and basically something like that. So this is the second stage. And the next stage is integrating this GraphQL resolver into the front end using React Relay. And what I did basically, so as you guys might be aware of, we already have the REST API for this. So what I did is I just tried to replace this REST API with the GraphQL resolver I just made. Yep. So this is actually the GraphQL resolver I just made. So it is currently an open PR, and I don't really see a problem with the new GraphQL API. It is working fine. And what I see is also the whole fields are the whole fields are returned basically, just like the REST API, but this is GraphQL resolver. Yeah. So there is the third stage, and the last stage should be the resolve subscription and using the glue routine. And I think it should be quite fast because you can just use the pre-existing GraphQL resolver for that. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what I did.
Barak, are those set up as subscriptions or as gets? Or
that
both?
one as get. I just replaced the old API with that.
Nice. What are your thoughts toward a subscription?
Yeah, I think I can just use the previously made function and then just create a resolver for subscription, and then just reuse this function, the get function, and then just made it into a subscription base.
One thing is, as we think about that, Dhruv and I and Abhishek and some others were having a conversation about like the typical behavior of a GraphQL subscription and whether or not when a subscription is initially established, whether or not there's any seed information, like whether or not there's basically a get that's invoked and then a subscription as well. And so anyway, for those of you who've had experience with GraphQL, it might be interesting to sound off in Slack about your experience with get versus subscribe and whether or not subscribes come with any data initially, or they just from that moment in time forward, then produce data. So Barak, it might be that you'd end up having you might end up using both the get and then subsequently the subscribe. Barak, you've done diligence around acknowledging just how large of a change it is that you're making. And so you've broken down those changes into palatable pull request sizes, like 3 of them, I think. As those are reviewed and merged, is there a sequence and timing that needs to be accounted for? Like if all 3 aren't included in a release, are we going to find ourselves in a broken state, or what? Is there a particular sequence to consider?
No. So as you might be aware of, I submitted 3 PRs, and the first PR is about the resolver for get performance by its ID. The second PR is for both resolvers, and the third PR is for integrating with the front end. So it's like a step, but it's quite
yeah. It's almost like you planned that. Yeah, that's great. That's perfect.
Yep.
So by the way,
I also think about this, but if you make this into GraphQL resolver, I think this would pose a problem, because if we trigger the data fetching like this, this kind of thing, I think it will not be very efficient because subscription is basically you try to get new data and then user will only get this new data. But here we fetch the whole thing and then the next subscription will be the whole thing again, but with the new data. So this is not very efficient, I think.
So I didn't really get what you're saying. So like the sub will end and it will you have a new sub every like what are you talking about? Like subscriptions don't die usually when the page is on.
Yeah. So in the Graphql resolver, basically we try to use the existing REST API endpoint from MessSync, and in the MessSync, I think the whole kind of results are being returned as one. So what we're trying to do here with the subscription is basically user firstly get the whole thing, and then as the time goes, when a new result comes in, user just want to get this new result, not the whole thing again, but with the new result. I think that's the kind of behavior that we want.
I I know what you're talking about. I guess you can talk this after the call. Like the main thing over here is to change the schema accordingly so that we can filter out the data which you need.
Yep, sure.
Thank you, Barik. Any other queries or comments here? All right. Moving on to the next item, Nikhil, would you like to talk about the learning paths?
Yeah, sure. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
It's $2.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let me know when it's visible.
That's $4.
Yeah, we are going to have to go into the t-shirt business.
Okay. So yeah, there's a new initiative in place, which is to bring on learning paths. We already have Learn in place, layer5.io/learn, which highlights the books, service mesh books, service mesh workshops, and the service mesh labs that we have at Layer5. And a new initiative has been taken under, which is the learning path. And this is a kind of workshop, but user driven. Anyone can come here and take the lab, which will be a lab or readable data which the user can go through. Suppose it's still under development, it's not completely ready, but we have few of the courses migrated. For example, introduction to service meshes, and this is the detail. Like this is a particular course which has this number of chapters inside it, and a user can simply go ahead and start with one of the course. Suppose the course currently is being taken using the Istio service mesh, but the user can also switch to a different service mesh if the user wants. Suppose Linkerd, and then he will be able to direct to the other page, other chapters accordingly, and complete the course. It's a future planning that once the course is completed, the user will get a certification of completing the course. He will also be able to take up a mock exam or a quiz like kind of thing to test his skills or what he has learned, and he will be getting a certification out of that. So this is still in progress. We have a lot of features being implemented by contributors at Layer5 itself, like Nishant, Nitish, Chinmay, and others. We have people migrating courses, so which are basically GitHub repositories at Layer5 currently, and those are being which are in background. We simply need to migrate. So people are encouraged, if they want, they can migrate the courses to Layer5 repo. Yeah, that's
all for learning G.
Oof, yeah, I don't know what to say. Again, another really exciting thing that you all are creating. It's also, there's more to it than meets the eye. I mean, Nikhil spoke to some subsequent releases of this to include a certificate and things. The notion that you'd be able to take a learning path and then choose your own journey in terms of whether or not you wanted to learn how to master service mesh with console or Linkerd or Istio, or that's, well, again, like I know this, I don't know. It's a truthful statement. I mean, I guess how you take it is up to you, but you won't find that anywhere else in the world. There's nowhere else in the world that will offer a course like that. It has a learning path where there are others that have copied us quickly. Two competitors to this community that I won't name, but they're doing it only for one mesh. And so again, like really cool. Cool to think that you all are creating something you cannot find anywhere else. By the way, the general manager for the Linux Foundation, general manager for the training and certifications, like the Kubernetes certifications that you all that people go after, he lives not too far from me. It's not because he lives not that far that we're friends. We're friends because of a bunch of other work that we've done. But he's asked any number of times for us to engage with him, and not him, but with his organization, and potentially help create a service mesh certification, or if for not that, just similar learning paths. And so, yeah. So, I mean, even after this particular functionality is complete, there's additional steps beyond that. At some point too, learning just for Meshery is like not specific to those other projects. People are going to want to have a learning path for how to do advanced things with Meshery. Again, like reading the tea leaves, like looking into the future, right? So it's cool, very cool.
Yeah, I guess we explained it better than me. I thought.
So anyway, Nikhil and Nitish and a number of people, and there's actually a number of people right now who have open pull requests that are contributing to the course content. Again, another great example of like learning while contributing. So the learning paths that are there, they're missing content for. That's part of the reason that it's not published just yet. And so if you're into that kind of a thing, please see Nikhil because more labs are needed, more coursework.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone is free to reach out to me on Slack or even comment on issue if they want to take it and start work. Yeah, Mike is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhil. So we are out of time, so we have missed one item on the topics today, but so I'll try to sum it up quickly. But before that, thank you everyone for joining this call, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. So to sum up the last item on the agenda, I'll just quickly share my screen and walk you through that. So currently, how Meshery handles applications is through this part of the UI. So we can basically provision all these different applications. So these are basically the sample applications from different service meshes, and Image Hub is of course an application that Layer5 has developed. So one area that needs working is this new construct called applications, which isn't opening up for some reason. Oh, I think my session got timed out. Wait, it doesn't work here. Okay. All right. So Machinery has this new this new item called application. So what one area that needs working is migrating the sample applications into this new construct. So that's an area that needs help, and we have to decide how we compile those applications into Meshery and add it to a release. And another area that needs working. So if you are on yesterday's service mesh performance call, we had people from Intel who really wanted to try out some other applications as well. So other sample applications as well. So one is from Google. So I'll share the link to the chat. So basically what they want to do is be able to provision these applications via Meshery. So they are using those applications to test their service mesh capabilities. So that is also another area that needs working. So if you to jump in, and a lot of people or a lot of big names in tech will appreciate your work. So that's it. Let's like to add anything to this.
It's more on that, maybe even a design proposal to review for Meshery dev call. That's it's really neat to see that in the initial bundling of sample applications that happens in each Meshery adapter is being now centralized into a first-class construct applications, and potentially those sample apps are no longer bundled in the adapters, but potentially moved out as well. Having some starter apps and some starter filters and other content, really helpful to. I was talking with an engineer at Cisco, a technical leader. They were trying out Meshery, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I see that, I see what it does, and I'm ready to try it. What do I do with it?" Like, they're like, and it's funny just because of their title and their role. And this is an individual that I've known for a while, quite technical, smart, obviously around networking there at Cisco, a friend of mine actually, because I spent a long time at Cisco. And but I didn't expect the question. Wasn't expecting that question. And if they have that question, so does everybody else about sort of, okay, great, this is intriguing. I want to use it. And then they need the in product pointers that pop up and say, "Oh, have you seen this?" And like, do that, try this. Like, and actually, to what Suhani is working on, and hopefully others now is like, hey, if you're not sure what to do here, go see this interactive lab potentially. So that's good. Cool. What a great call today. So is it 36 folks on? All kinds of things for you all. Do we get up to 36?
We had 39 at one point.
If I had big biceps, I would, I'd flash a bicep on the call, but that's just not gonna. So that's awesome. Word's getting around. You guys are doing good things. Wow. Navendu, thank you for hosting. It's good. Some couple of calls on Monday, the website's call. So probably more discussion on the good work that Devapriya is doing with Anita and Goodness. And then the other one on WebAssembly filters. And I think there's a demo, right? Utkarsh has got something lined up. Cool. See you all Monday.
Bye guys. Thank you for joining.
Bye all. Bye.
Bye bye.